Joining us now, our second guest on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline is the Boise State play-by-play man, Bob Behler. And Bob, great to have you back with us on BYUSN. If fans haven't experienced it, why do you feel like the Boise State game day experience, tailgating, blue turf, all that fun stuff, is a worthwhile trip?
Well, first of all, I think it's a great place to watch a game, much like LaVell Edwards Stadium. You're very close to the action, probably about half the size of LaVell Edwards Stadium, maybe a little more than half. So you sit right on top of the field. Obviously, the turf is blue, which makes that experience a little different. The tailgating, we've got a practice field right next to it where there's a lot of tailgating that goes along, and a lot of the parking lots that people will tailgate are right adjacent to the stadium, so everything's very convenient. 3 of the 4 games that have been played here have come down to 1 point. So I think it's just a good game to see, and I think it's a pretty easy trip. You can come up here without flying.
Boise State is a 13-point favorite over BYU in this game. Tell us a little bit about what Boise State's done well and what you think of the matchup with BYU.
Well, I think Boise State's offense, as far as the pass game, has really been good this season. Brett Rippon has shown that as a 4-year starter at quarterback that he now has made all the throws. The deep ball has really been there. The receivers, which I thought might be a minus coming into the season after losing Cedric Wilson to the Cowboys, where he was the prime target last year, it's been by committee, and that has really worked out well for Boise State. They got about 4 or 5 guys that are capable of turning in a 100-yard game for a receiver. So Boise State's offense has been very prolific, especially on the passing side. The running game has been a bit of a work in progress. Last week against Air Force, I thought it was as good as it's looked all season. Alexander Madison's a good back, capable of getting 100 yards in a game, which he did in that one. So the offense has been really good, and the defense has been very solid all season. Boise State defense the last couple of weeks, not last week, but the week before that, the 2 weeks before that, has done a good job of getting turnovers. Last week with Air Force's option attack, they did a very good job in the second half against them. Didn't fare too well in the first half, but this is a deep team. This is a team that, 2 losses have been San Diego State. I think that's a game they would love to have back so they could still be undefeated in the conference. And then the day they played Oklahoma State played really well. And, you couldn't just change a couple of plays in that game and get a win.
The voice of the Boise State Broncos, Bob Behler, with us on BYUSN in his 11th season in those responsibilities. Follow him at BSU Bob on Twitter. Okay, we always have this conversation, and I think it grows every year because this is a budding regional rivalry. But how much right now does the Boise State fan base view BYU as a true rival?
I think quite a bit, because I think to have a rivalry, you have to have a game that goes on all the time. And while there hasn't been, that long ago, 2003, it's a consistent series where that's a team that, pops up every year on the schedule. I think to have a true rival, it also helps that you're close enough where your fans can drive to the other team's place. So, 5 hours, Boise State fans can be down there, vice versa. I also think that to have a big rivalry, you need fan bases. And I think this is one where maybe it skews more here that it's of an interest than down there. But there are so many people here that are BYU fans in the Treasure Valley. So I think to have a rivalry, you need to be able to have friends, neighbors, and coworkers that like the other team, and that you can go back and forth with. And I think that at least up here, I think that happens a lot. There are a lot of people here that like the Cougars, and obviously there's a lot of people that like the Broncos. So Boise State, I think, has been searching for some teams and to be rivals with, and I think they do have some that are in the Mountain West that are growing. One of Boise State's problems as far as rivalry is they've been in 4 different conferences. And when you're in 4 different conferences, you change some of the teams you play. Some of the teams that were rivals, like Idaho, have, rotated off the schedule because they're no longer in your league and now no longer at the same level of football. Idaho's playing FCS football. So I think they're looking for somebody, and I think with some of the games that have been close and competitive against BYU, I think that, this thing is trending up as far as that concern.
What sticks out about the Cougars to you? Because this team has been a better road team than home team. It's defeated Arizona and Wisconsin on the road, got blown out against Washington, but at home, a couple of head-scratching losses, and here BYU is a big dog at Boise State.
Well, I think the thing that scratches my head on this for them is their inconsistency. I wouldn't have given you 25 cents to beat Wisconsin, and then I wouldn't have thought you'd lose to Northern Illinois at home. So, I mean, I think that they've been a tough team to figure. I think inconsistent quarterback play has probably hurt them a little bit. You've changed quarterbacks in the middle of the season. You're playing a true freshman now. You look tremendous against Hawaii. Watching the game against Northern Illinois, I wouldn't say that you look tremendous. Defensively, the numbers look solid. Doesn't look like they've, come after you with a whole lot of sacks, though, would be my negative there. And they really probably haven't forced a whole lot of turnovers either, but the yardage has been pretty good. But I think, to me, looking at the numbers,